Okay, we're doing a lithium ion repair here of this battery. So this came from a e-move scooter. This one's been in and out heaps for repairs because it is neglected. It's jumped with and very rough. So what happens is the battery itself starts to break apart. I haven't seen one this bad before, but it does happen. So I've taken the battery out of the case. It's usually in an enclosure, but a lot of the bigger scooters will have these kinds of batteries. So they'll have 18650 cells, or in this case these are 21700 cells, and they're all made up into a pack. Now what happens is when you're very rough with the scooter and jumping around and water ingress happens, you get to a stage where the cells they just break apart and the tabs start to break. So you can see even in a not as bad situation here, right, you might have a break. You can see there's a break in that tab, so there's no contact between those two sides of the tab. And so when that happens, you can get arcing, you can get, now this was previously tried to be repaired, so that's why it looks even worse. But so in this case, the BMS died as well. And so there's a new BMS here that'll be put on. But the cells obviously have to be fixed. Now, it could be the case that the cells are dead as well. But this will definitely get, an issue, and you'll probably, if you're moving around, bouncing around, it'll cut out, the controller will cut out because it's meant to be getting 60 volts or whatever it's meant to be getting. And then suddenly there's a cut like that and it makes no contact, and then you just lose voltage through the pack. So we're gonna do that repair by essentially attaching the tabs back on and getting that how it's meant to be. And we're going to do that by just making a quick makeshift spot welder, but you can buy these. So this is going to be essentially made from a microwave transformer, stripping out the internals, because normally one will look like this, and it'll have a big winding, relatively big winding, and a smaller winding. So you can see here, big winding, and if you can look, see how they're quite small. So what you want to do is you want to strip out the internals of that so that you're ended up with just a cavity in there. And then you want to put in a nice big, fat as you can cable and wrap it around twice in there. So in this case, 2 rounds. And then you're going to essentially put these copper wires in to get nice points where you can start welding on. This is 3mm copper wire. Okay, so we've got here, I've propped up the battery, separated a bit. So I'm just gonna clean up these contacts, these strips with some wire brush, pop this on the drill and just clean it up. Just get it nice and shiny, nice and good contact. Now, what we've got here is, so because when you're doing the battery, you need these strips. So this is pure nickel, which is the best to use, but they're a bit thin, they're 5mm. And I also got nickel plated, so these are 8mm, and they're probably closer to, yeah, they're the same as those. So essentially just gonna clean these up, and then cut all this crap off so that I'm ready to put the new strips on. And then we're gonna have to try and break the pack apart a little bit to get to these ones so we can replace those. I think it'll just be on this end. We'll see as we move down. Then we'll manage the BMS. Right. So we're going to use our little welder, and I'll put a little button on it, and we're going to attempt to weld that to that and then make a nice join. Try again, but this time let's just hold it in place. Yeah, it's working. So we do have a joint now. So that should be fine. What I might do is just go down the bottom as well, because that's where I care to make that join. So let's do a few more. Perfect. Right. I mean, that's pretty strong. So now that we've got that on, we can try and focus on now the leap to essentially attaching them. So the way it looks to be is we're gonna have to angle this down a little bit and join that, and then we're gonna have to do the same thing here. So that requires me to, I might just do it like that if I can, right? And that way we might be able to get a good grab of it. Let me try and pop something underneath there. It's really difficult to get everything into position. That's something. Okay, that seems a lot better. All right. fantastic. Right. Now, we want another strip sort of here. So if we can, just wanna, okay, these tips are starting to go a little bit weird. Okay, that's melting through, don't know why. Definitely need more down the bottom. I think we need to reposition these points. They're getting quite blunt. Good. Nice and strong. So now we just need to connect it up to this guy. Okay. So I would say that that's a successful joint. So that set is done, and now we can move to the next. Because what's going to happen is when I'm going to bring them together, I'm going to have to put a bit of cardboard between them. But that's essentially repaired that section. So now we need to try and figure out how we're going to get to the other section and what's the repair going to look like. So the other section is actually bent the other way. So I'm going to have to reposition everything and just try and open it up from the other side, because as you can see, that's where the other side's cracked, there's that joint's missing, so we're gonna have to get to there and weld a new strip across. Okay, so it's a bit, that's the cracked one. I'm gonna try and just cleave it off, and then, which it's coming off now. I'll just try and continue cleaving it off. Then I'll have a nice flat platform to attach the second one to. Okay. Difficult to fantastic contacts there. Okay. So now just need to get a weld contact there between the bottom rungs of it. Right. So that's repaired now. So now we're just gonna see what the heck is going on. Let me now put that down. Okay, so now we're going to actually check the voltage as we've repaired those cracks. We were getting no voltage before. So now we're going to check the voltage on the positive lead, which goes to the positive end of the battery, and the negative lead, which currently goes into the BMS, but then it comes out after the BMS. So the BMS regulates that. But we're just going to check from the positive to the negative going into the BMS, not out of it, to see that we get battery voltage. And so we're on 0 volts now. So positive to positive and negative to negative, and we get 57.2 volts, which is battery voltage. So tells us the battery is good. So now we can actually start wrapping it back up, getting it to a nice solid state, and then we're going to redo the BMS. Now, normally it'd just be a plug and play to switch over the BMSs, but in this case, the BMS has a negative pin as well. So it has, instead of 14 pins, it has 15 pins. This one only has a 14 because it doesn't have a negative, and the connector is slightly different, so I can't just move it to one side. It's not going to actually fit. So I'm forced to actually just resolder all 14 wires onto the new BMS connector. So I'm just gonna, I'll just do a time lapse of that, but essentially each wire, I found which one B1 is. So it goes negative and then B1, B2. And so what we've got here is we've got each of these are made up of separate cells. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 to get 14S. So yeah, gonna do that, and I'm trying to clean this battery pack up so it's not flopping around and moving, because that essentially is what caused it to fail before. You had water ingress, which weakened the joints, and then you had movement of the deck bouncing around, and that causes these to crack and to arc and to eventually stuff the BMS, but then lose voltage. We just slid the battery back inside that enclosure, and gonna tape the sides of it up, and then I'm gonna put the enclosure back in the scooter, wire it up, and then give it a good charge. See how we go. Okay, so we're gonna now pop that into here. Got the 2 charge wires, and then positive and negative. Okay, so I've left it overnight and it's telling me that it's charged. So we're gonna do some repairs on the switch and battery meter because right now it's all ripped up, and gonna give it another shot, or give it its first shot. Alright guys, so that was the repair. The battery held up fine, charged fine. So let me know if you want to see a video of the assembly or how to make that spot welder. Yeah, but otherwise, take it easy.